Hello, and welcome back to the Flix Forum podcast, where each episode we check out a Netflix original film in the order of release. This episode, we have Netflix 140th film. It's the 2019 drama Juanita. It's directed by Clark Johnson. It stars Alfre, Woodard, and Adam Beach. I am your host, Jesse, and I am here to give you a spoiler-filled episode on this film. So if you haven't seen Juanita and you want to, please do give us a pause and come back a little bit later on, because we're going to jump into this film now with my Fast Flicks, where I do a quick little summary of the film. And this one, for me, it's frustrated and overcome with needing a change. A woman takes a bus trip with no destination in mind on the hope of revival. And that's a little bit a longer one than I normally do, but I think that it sums this one up quite nicely, that this is a bit of a, not a coming of age story, but more of a finding yourself sort of story. And I think that this film probably will sit nicely with a lot of people. It's a nice feeling film. So let's talk a little bit about how this one was put together by Netflix. And I guess it's good to start off that this is actually based on a novel. The novel is called Dancing on the Edge of the Roof, and it was written by Sheila Williams. This one actually has a sequel as well, and the second book in the series is called On the Right Side of a Dream. So I think this film just covers the first novel, and then obviously I don't think there hasn't been any announcement of a sequel to this one, but obviously if they wanted to, there was that opportunity to adapt the second book in the series. This was, sorry, there's a little bit of a, lost my breath. So this was filmed in April 2017, and Netflix pretty much just picked up the rights during filming, and they said, yep, let's do this. We'll release this one for you, which is a nice little story. And apart from that, there's not a lot on this film, and we can probably see that from some of the numbers of people that have watched this. If we look at Rotten Tomatoes, it does sit on an 82%, which is fresh, only on 17 critics who have reviewed it, and the same with the audience. It sits on only a little bit over 100 reviews, but a little bit lower on the audience perspective. It's sitting at 63%. For IMDb, it does have a solid 6 out of 10 on a bit over 2,000 people, and Letterboxd sitting around about a bit over 1,000 people, and they've given this a 2.7 out of 5, so fairly positive. Nice little film for this one. This was released on Netflix on the 8th of March 2019, filmed in America across the states of Virginia and California, and it was nominated for 2 awards at the Black Reel Awards in 2019 for an outstanding actress in a TV movie and for the outstanding directing for a TV movie. But it did win an award at the Reframe Award Festival. So this was for the best feature at this award. So nice little one. Never heard of that award show, but it did win an award, which is a nice thing to lead us into my early thoughts for this one. And I think that this was fun and enjoyable, and mainly because of the performance from Alfre Woodard. It's kind of a jumbling mess at times, but Juanita's this character that you want to see happy, and obviously the film is titled after this character, so I was happy to join her on this ride of discovery throughout. And I will now talk about Juanita, because it's time to talk about some characters, and I think that this character is pretty well rounded. You can see that she's got kids. They're all up to no good. She can't hold a relationship down, and she even has this imaginary partner, and she can't hold that down, and she needs a change. So I think it's nice to see that she constantly helps others, and she needs to not hate these people. So she needs some time to herself and wants a bit of me time, which I can quite relate to. I love a little bit of me time. She works hard. She doesn't love her job, and she does have these traits where she does get nervous and sad quite a bit, which we do see can lead to panic attacks. So obviously there is this need of discovery for this character, and this is done through, I guess, the only other real big character in this film is a character called Jesse, this Native American guy who's struggling with trauma from being a soldier in a past war, runs a restaurant in this little town out in the middle of nowhere, and he doesn't mind a drink, which also tells us that he needs something positive in his life. And I guess that this coming together of these two characters helps provide a little bit of that positivity for him, which is nice to see. The director for this one, Clark Johnson, has 104 acting credits, 67 directing credits, a lot of TV work for directing, including the Purge TV series, and a couple of Netflix shows here too, with Orange is the New Black, Luke Cage, as well as some other big studio TV series like Homeland, The Shield, The Wire, Homicide, Life on the Street. So been around for quite a while, and obviously had the control for this one and the trust from the people who put this story together. some scenes. This is some time to talk about some scenes and some ones that I did like in this one. And I think that the opening montage, they're like these sketches of Juanita's life, and they're all in a matter of a couple of seconds. You can see that she's been married, she's had kids, she's been divorced, she's worked flipping burgers, her kids are getting older, she's alone and quite depressed. And I think that this is a really good setup for the film and gives you a lot of information about Juanita as a character before even actually seeing her on the screen. At the start too, or throughout the first sort of third of the film, Juanita does a lot of breaking the fourth wall, does a lot of talking down to the camera as the audience, and I really enjoyed that, and I wish it sort of continued throughout the film, because it sort of it drops off completely, and I think that it gives you a good start off of connecting with her as a character, because you can see her inner thoughts straight away, and a nice little technique that wasn't continued throughout, which was probably a little bit sad. The other thing that sort of stood out that was completely random was on this bus trip that Juanita's taking across America, that she goes to the toilet and gets out of the toilet and does this little random dance and song routine on the bus, and it was just a nice little upbeat moment that had nothing to do with anything, but was just cool to see. Some things that I probably didn't really like in this one. I mentioned earlier on that Juanita has this imaginary boyfriend, which is this character called Blair Underwood, who that's his actual name in real life as well. I get that I've seen his face before, and I get that he's a celebrity, but probably not a big enough celebrity for me to get the crushing, I guess, that Juanita has on him. So maybe that's just a bit of the writing for this film, that they couldn't get a bigger name actor, but that was just a little bit of a downside for me. And the last thing that just sort of was a bit yuck for me was this attempt at a joke where Juanita's looking at this map on different locations where she can go and travel to, and she identifies this little town called Butte, and she goes up to the counter to buy a bus ticket, and she's like, "Oh, can I get a ticket to Butt?" And I was like, bit of a lame joke. But we'll let that one slide, because this film does have a really upbeat sort of feeling, and the ideas and themes in this one sort of lead on to that, with that idea of finding fulfillment. And often we see these coming of age stories where they're younger characters and then they need to overcome something to build a better life ongoing, whereas this one is about getting on in age and doing something for yourself when you've done so much for others for a lot of your life, and that idea of soul searching, and no one wants to be alone, and it's just nice to see some characters that identify that and go, hey, we're getting to that stage in our life where we do need someone. We've done that time by ourselves. It's time to sit down with someone and be like, let's share these moments together. And that takes me to what did I take away from this one? And I think that this has a really positive representation of Native Americans and African Americans. It's not often that we see a film just littered with these positive representations. And, good too that we can see some minorities as leads in films. I guess that the side that sort of let me down a little bit was this big cast of other faces or these other characters that got very little development. I mean, we focus on these two main characters, but they add in all these other little characters and their little traits, but we get like one or two lines about it and no actual closure on their characters or their lives. And I guess this is with Juanita's kids. You've got this cast of Native Americans that are around as well, and locals in this town that Juanita goes to. You've got this truck driver called Peaches, who it could have been a great film just hitting the road, Juanita and her together. You've got this old lady that she's caring for at the start that they leave this symbolic momentum of her being a dancer, and it just doesn't get picked up anywhere else. They make mention of this hotel owner who's a peeper. Just make that joke twice and that's it. And there's a sheriff that owes money, and even Juanita has a best friend that I can't even remember her name, but she's this guiding light for her that she speaks to twice, and that's it. So I think that was probably a little bit of a letdown with all these side characters, that there were probably too many and not enough follow through with those. We have a part on our show where sometimes we jump on IMDb to check out if there's some familiar faces that we can recognize from some other work. And this one, for Alfre Woodard, I didn't need to look it up because she has been in another Netflix original film that we've covered, Burning Sands, which was quite a while ago. And she was this supportive professor that really stood out in that film to me. So I recognized her straight away and was happy to see her on the screen in this role, because she did a really good job. And I think that's probably where it's time for me to wrap this one up and give not a Netflix, but a Flix Forum rating for this show or for this film. And for me, I mean, it was hard not to get swept up in the need to see Juanita find happiness. And even if the support around her and the trip that she goes on wasn't necessarily fleshed out, I still think it's a nice little film that means no harm, has a really sweet message, and you can just enjoy watching this. So I'm giving this a 3 out of 5, which is a nice little score for this sweet little film. We have social media. We have Twitter, we have Facebook, we have Instagram. Get on board, give us a like, give us a share. If you can subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify as well, that will help us to be seen by some more people, which would be lovely too. And I just want to pop a question out there this week is, does Juanita end up going back to Paper Moon, this little town that she spent a bit of time with and built some really nice connections with? So that's our question on social medias for this week. I would like to thank you, as usual, for joining me, because I'd hope you'll join me again next week for our next Netflix original film, which is another 2019 film, and this time it's a biopic. It's called Walk, Ride, Rodeo, and it has a full stop after each word, so walk, full stop, ride, full stop, rodeo, full stop. And this is directed by Connor Allen, and it stars Missy Pyle, Spencer Locke, Bailey Chase, Sherry Shepherd, and Corbin Bleu. Corbin Bleu, High School Musical from memory, so maybe we'll have a chat about that next week. But I think that this film's a good one. If you wanted to check out Juanita, please do, because it will make you feel good. And thank you, because you've made me feel good by listening today. I'll see you next week.